Um, Good afternoon, everyone. On today's episode of Foodie Unpacked, we speak to Cape Town City and Bafana midfielder Thato Mokeke. Thato Sfede?
Now is wrong with two.
As I say, Thato is a Cape Town City and Bafana midfielder. He's also played for Ajax Cape Town and SuperSport United. In fact, Thato came through the ranks and Chippa United, and he came through the ranks at SuperSport. So Thato, if we can just take it back, let's take it back to the beginning. Where are you from? Like Thato Kimang, from where?
Yeah, now I would say I'm from Kimberley.
Okay.
Khalishiwe, Kimberley, Northern Cape Province. Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, recovery with the Academy SuperSport, Mara, like before yes, Academy SuperSport, where did you start playing the game? Did you just start playing Koka Sinje, and at that time, not Lala Fela, or was it always your dream, or Lala PSL, or to be a professional footballer?
Yeah, actually, for me, it was just it started, I think, in the streets of Kimberley, where we used to just play for fun, as kids.
Sure.
And I didn't have a dream of saying that one day I wanna be a professional soccer player. It was just for fun, playing the streets until when I was 12. When now teams there were teams at my hometown. There's obviously leagues whereby they select players. You go to a bigger team, same as in the PSL.
Sure.
When you perform, you go to a bigger team. So teams started getting interested in me, and that's when I realized maybe this is my talent or something that I can pursue. You see, but it wasn't that serious because I was just still playing for fun. And then when I went to SuperSport for the academy, that's when I started to realize, oh, maybe this is my talent to pursue and make the best out of it.
So just on that issue of SuperSport, I mean, when did you join the academy, and how were you scouted? Was scouted okay, SuperSport. How did that whole thing happen?
There was a tournament, provincial tournament that was called Danon. So I was selected for my province to represent them in Cape Town for the tournament. That's when SuperSport scouted me, and we went to. It was actually trials. It wasn't like a confirmed team, so we had to go to trials for I think for it was 2 weeks, and then they had to cut the squad shorter and shorter because it was about 50 players. So there was one boy who was from Kimberley with me, but unfortunately he didn't make the second try. So I had to go back alone, and then I went back for the third trial. That's when they selected me for the following year to come as an academy player.
2002, 2003.
It was, I think, somewhere 2003.
Oh yeah, I remember. So
that's when I moved to Joburg.
So then you then get to the SuperSport Academy, So I mean, nearly SuperSport Feyenoord.
Yes.
So there was like a partnership.
Yeah, they had a partnership with Feyenoord from Holland. So most of our coaches were from Feyenoord because they had a partnership and they wanted to. It was like a project for them. Maybe it was for me. I think it was a 5 or 6 year project whereby they had to produce one or two players that can go to Feyenoord, which it happened. They produced two, actually three, but one that's only now in Europe. It's Camo. It was Kermit, Pule, and Mukocho himself, yeah. And Mukocho was the only one who's still playing in Europe.
Oh, but at some point, they all signed with Feyenoord, Nick, Camilo Mukocho, Kemit Erasmus. I think you see the other one, Pilani Kwela, yes. Yeah. Okay. So, when you guys arrived at SuperSport, 2003, who were some of the players who were there at the time, or like when the project started? Can you name just a few of the current players in the PSL who were there with you when you started the academy?
It was, I think Ramahle was there when we started Mphahlele.
Yes.
Kermit, obviously. Kermit Erasmus. And who can I think of that's currently playing in the PSL?
Yeah, or who's played in the PS? Because I know Kamohelo Mukoch obviously was there.
Or who's played or who's currently playing?
Anyone who turned professional at any stage.
Oh, it was also Simpiwe Nkosi, Zongo, Masibusani Zongo, Filani Kwela, Thabiso Kwela was also there from the beginning, but he came as a youngster also because he was, I think, 1 year or 2 years younger than us.
Yeah.
I think not one. From our group. Are you talking from our group? Or?
Yeah, the first group. So it was Borama, Bokemi, Bokamo.
Yeah.
All right, and then Zongo, yeah.
Simpiwe Nkosi, Karawa Masiela.
Yes.
It was no. So Skara came after.
After, yeah.
Skara came after. Okay.
But then a few others came after. Boronwe, Bibo, guys, they all came afterwards.
Miguel team, they came after. Yeah, they came after. So yeah, from our group, I think a few turned professional from that group. So I think it was successful. That's why they continued with the project even after. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if I can just think of quickly of an 11 of players that came from the SuperSport Academy. I mean, there's Ronan Williams, Keegan Ritchie, right?
Yeah, so Keegan Ritchie, I forgot about it. Yeah.
Oh, Rama, Wena, Tandani Nchumayelo, Kamohelo Mukocho, Masibusani Zongo, Kemit Erasmus, Miguel Tim. Like there's so many players who came through that academy. It was clearly a very successful initiative. Yeah. So
who's that? Manaka also, and Manaka.
Edgar Manaka, yeah. Manaka. Oh, I nearly buy a quality.
Yo, it's too much.
So too much. So this whole thing, yeah, partnership with Feyenoord. How did it work? Does it mean that you guys got to go to Holland? Like, how often did you go to Holland? Did you play against Dutch teams? And I mean, how did that work?
I think for the first few years, I think maybe it was more like an individual trial, whereby they sent maybe 2 of the best in our academy to go and explore or go for trial. And then after a while, it was like a team where we got an invitation to play in a certain tournament. Yeah. So every year, and then it changed, whereby now it was like more of individual, when we were going to under 15, 17, it was more individuals trips, whereby now they focus on more individuals.
So, what kind of teams did you play against when you guys went to Holland? Like just a few names.
No, there was a lot. We played against Ajax, obviously, Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, yeah.
We played against Barcelona. We played against Real Madrid. We played against AZ. We played against FC20. And some of the teams from Holland also, just that I forgot the names.
But it was quite a lot of teams in
some
Europe.
Of the,
yeah.
Yeah.
But compete there, or were you just going there, Malashapa the 10-0, or were you actually competitive earlier there?
No, actually, we were surprised also when we went there. We just went as an experience.
Yeah.
But we ended up doing well. So that's why they continue inviting us to tournaments. Yeah. So we did quite well. We won some of the tournaments. We won some of our players, including myself. I won player of the tournament, one of the tournaments, some top goal scorer. So that's when we were like invited every year.
And I mean, in terms of the style of play that you guys played, were you guys influenced by the Dutch way of doing things? So did they sort of like take your style that you are used to and add like a Dutch flavor to it? And do you think that helped you in any way?
I think we mostly used the Dutch way.
Yeah.
Because like most of the guys, we came from location whereby you don't have a structure and everything, you see. So, and then they taught us the Dutch way whereby you just have to play to basics, you see. But some of the guys, they use both, a bit of both. Example like Zongo. Zongo used to use both of both, his own skill and also the Dutch way.
Because I mean, now I remember seeing you guys in the day, and you always look different, because it was like everyone else, not like the basics, man, like 4-4-2, like Mzansi, man, nothing complicated, and you guys had this thing, number 10, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Yeah.
Even us were confused. Like we didn't know at first what was this we doing, but as time went on, we caught up, and then we learned that this is how we should play. And then you see, like now, the teams are implementing such formation actually. So yeah, I think it helped us, some of us. Yeah.
And I mean, so one and that's why it gets confusing for me, because I mean, we always hear we don't have development structures in the country, and that's why we don't produce players. But I mean, why do you think you guys could compete with Real Madrid and those teams? But now when you look at the situation like 15 years later or whatever, we don't produce the same kind of players that they produce. Where do you think it goes wrong?
Yes, I think it's just the follow-up, and I think like this thing of tracking players. Our development structures, they don't track the players' development. They just use you for a certain time, and then after, when it's done, it's like if you don't make a certain grade, they just throw you away, you see. Whereby they can still keep you in the system. Even though if you don't make it overseas, you can still make it easily in South Africa. So for me, I think the development structures, that's where they lose it, whereby when you turn 18, like for us in our academy, when you turn 18, it was supposed to be like it's either you overseas or you play first team, which is wrong. Because some of the players, they develop late, some early, you see. So I think if they can keep at least the players in the system until a certain age, let's say maybe 25, you can even still play in the PSL, you see.
Yeah.
Even in Vela, yeah, you can easily. Yeah. But I think for us, they discourage the players when you reach 18 or 19. and you can't make it either in the PSL or overseas. It's like they give up on you.
Because that generation, and now I'm not just talking just about Super Sport, but when I just look at that group in J, from like 1989 to like let's say 92, there was just so much talent. I mean, if you think, yes, you guys had a lot of players, but go IX as well, they had a lot of good players. For Transnet, like they were just good players everywhere. So I don't know, like I sort of expected a bit more from that group, you know.
From the players,
You know,
because most of the guys are not even playing the PSL now.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make sense. And I mean, even you look at the 2009 Under 20 World Cup. I mean, we had one of the best teams in the tournament. But when you look now, 11 years later, it's like, you know, we have not progressed.
There's no progress.
Yeah, like Bogana. So it's just very confusing. Or where does it go wrong? You know, because while as much as people want to say there's no development, I actually think there is decent development, but we just don't follow up. You know, to make sure that the players,
and also the mentality also. I think the way we think in South Africa, it's bad. Using our mentality as players sometimes, because I think Europeans, I think maybe it's in their DNA. Like when you're young, they teach you while you're young how to handle fame, how to handle money, how to handle press. They teach you at a young age, so that when those stuff you get exposed to those stuff later on. It's not something that you faced with. It's just normal to use. So I feel like an 18-year-old maybe playing the PSL and it's being like praised and everything. After 2 months or 6 months, he doesn't know how to handle such kind of pressure, and then we lose that boy.
So, like, go Academy Super Sport, what position did you play?
No, I actually don't know. Also, I used to play left back, and then I played number 8.
Yeah.
But the position that they signed me, it was number 8. But when time went on, they used me as a left back also, because there was too much competition and they wanted me to play also. So they had to move me because they could see that I understand the basics of certain positions. So they tried me in certain positions also.
Okay. So I mean, okay, now you go through the academy and everything, and then next thing I know, you're playing at Ajax. Yeah. That's the first time a lot of people really started to see you playing like regularly in the PSL. I mean, how did that happen? How did you move from one moment to Super Sport Academy and then next thing you're making your name at Ajax in the PSL?
Yeah, it's tricky because when you were, I think I was 18 or 17, turning 18.
Yeah.
They called us, me and Kamu, to the first team, but we were still in school.
Yeah.
So they called us. They said, no, we have to go to a game where the first team was playing with Black Leopards in Venda.
Yeah.
So they called us, and then we went with the team, but we never played. We sat on the bench. And then we came back, we trained a few times with the first team, and then the coach just came to us and said, no, you know what? The coach was Gavin at the time. He said, no, I'm happy with you guys, but now I just want you to finish school and come back next year. So in our minds, we knew that we're going to the first team next year. So I went back to the academy, finished school, and then the following year, there was no first team. They told us, no, we need to wait. We must be patient. And then a few months after that, I think Kermit or Pule went to the first team, one of the guys before us. And then we were like, because in my mind, I knew that I was going to the first team next year. Yes. So that thing, like, that's where it, like, mentally it killed me a lot. Because in my head, I prepared that I'm going to the first team next year. And then it happened. And then, okay, sharp, I had to deal with it. We played at the academy. Kermit left to the first team. but he was still playing with us in the academy. And then Kamo left to the first team, but he never played actually. He came back most of the time. And then I think Pule went after Kermit. And then Kamo followed. Because Zongo, I think Zongo went also. I'm not sure who went before the first one. Was it Zongo or Kermit? Between those two. So some of the guys were like, okay, let's just be patient. Maybe our time will come. So after a while, no, I wasn't promoted. So they brought a Vodacom team. So the older guys, if you can't play in the development setup, you have to play in the reserve league, either the Vodacom or the reserve league. So we played there. Nothing materialized. So I told myself, you know what, hey, maybe I need to move. You see. So I went home. I was angry. I packed my bags and I left. So I went home for like a few months. They called me. They said, hey, you need to come back. You need to come back. And I told them, no, I don't want to come back. You see. I'm going to school. I thought of developing, so no. And then they called me. They said, you know what? You must come back. You have to go to a trial in Iceland. Wara, wara. I think maybe that was their way of bringing me back. So I went back, trained with the Vodacom team for I think a month. So, and then me and Keegan Buchanan, who plays at Maritzburg now, we went to Iceland. So the other guys they already moved. Kamu, I think, was playing already in Holland. Kermit was in Holland. Pule was in Holland. Zongo was in the first team. So I came back. We went to Iceland, me and Keegan.
Which Keegan Buchanan? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything went well. We came back. The coach said, no, I want you guys, but now the problem is the money. Because I don't know how much money are they gonna ask for you guys. You see. But he told us they can work it out if we come back and then we perform that they sell us to a bigger team. Then they can give SuperSport the money that they deserve also, you see. So in my mind I thought I was going back to Iceland. We're going to Iceland. When we came back, they took us to the first team. They said, no, we're gonna sign you in the first team. And I said, me, I want to go too. They said, no, don't worry, stay with the first team. You're gonna play. The coach likes you, this, the stories. We stayed. After maybe a month or so, they told us, no, we have to go to the Vodacom team. And I was like, you said we mustn't go to Iceland, and now you say we mustn't go to the first team. And I said, no, you know what? I want to leave. They said, no, be patient. We're not all gonna be turning professional at the same time. I said, I understand, but this is my chance. You see.
Yeah.
I said, no, I packed my bags again, left, went home forever now. I took everything I left. So because I had a good relationship with Stan, and because Stan also invested a lot in me, so he didn't just want to lose money. So he said, you know what, can you at least keep yourself active at home, train, you see, I will look for something for you. So I just did that, trained, but it's not the same, just training. And then after a few months, he called me and said, you know what, I booked a flight for you. I spoke with IX. I didn't know who was IX. I just went. You see. Went there. I think it was end of the season. I went there like it was maybe 2 weeks. So I couldn't train all the time with them because they had to prepare for games. So I trained, and then the coach told me, you know what, you must come back pre-season. And then we'll have Foppe. Foppe was the coach, Foppe Dian.
Yes.
He said, no, you must come back pre-season. I went back pre-season, trained. And then everything went well. But they wanted to sign me also and loan me to their Vodacom team. I said, no, I don't want that because I'm not going to grow as a player. It's better I be around these guys so that I learn already. And they said, no, it's okay, but you must expect that you're not going to play a lot of games because we have players who have established themselves in the PSL. It was scored, the likes of scored, George Malulega, Tulani. So it was difficult, obviously, to break in the team. So I trained with them, and then I had to play friendly games and in the Vodacom. I end up agreeing, say, you know what, I don't have a problem. I'll play games, but I won't like train fully with the Vodacom team. You see. And then that's how it happened. I went to Ajax. Yeah, that's how it happened. And I got my break there, which I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for them and Super Sport also, because they also played a part in that also. So yeah, that's how I went to Ajax.
And I mean that Ajax team, it was a special team, eh? Because I remember what Tyson was there, ne? What
Tyson was already there when I got there.
Serrero.
Clayton Daniels.
Leave it. I said I'm going to Dutch now.
George Malulega. Karma. I think I came the same time with Karma and Lebo. Yeah, and Lebo Manyama. We arrived the same, I think the same year. And who again? Fontaine.
Yeah,
Tara
Fontaine. Yeah.
Lolo. Nhlanhla Shabalala. Mfundo Shabalala. Fred Evans. Yeah. Asfonk was
the keeper. I remember that. Yeah. Do you think if Ajax could somehow keep that team, you think that team could have won the league with those players?
Actually, I think we could have, but it was difficult to keep the team because Ajax is not a big team. It's more like a development team whereby they give youngsters chance, and then they sell them to big teams. You see.
I'm going to touch it now.
So,
no high five.
How do you then leave Ajax? How does it happen that you then leave Ajax?
Ajax, it was because of contracts and money issues. Whereby I didn't agree with the contract they were offering, and they were playing the card of saying that we gave you an opportunity, which that time in my career I thought I deserved more. Because I wasn't unhappy staying there. It's just that financially it wasn't making sense, because if they valued me that much, they would have given me at least half of that money, or maybe they could have negotiated a better contract. You see, that's why I left, because of the contract and the financial. Yeah.
So where do you go? Where do you then go after that?
Oh, I went to Super Sport. Back to Super Sport, where it started. Yeah.
You didn't play too many games at that. You didn't play. Did you play that much at Super Sport when you went back?
The first 6 months I arrived, I played a lot of games, and then after that, I got injuries, like big injuries, because if when I was fit and not injured, I was playing, and then I got injured and changing of coaches, so it wasn't the best day after that 6 months, because I had to always play the catch-up game, and it's difficult when you play the catch-up game if you haven't done a proper preseason, whereby players already they have at least 10 games in their legs. So for a coach to drop somebody who's played 10 games to put somebody who just came back from injury, it works, but if you come in, you need to make a big difference to the team, you see. But if you slow,
so next thing, there's a new team, Cape Town City, And you then
No,
you then
Cape City, it was, I had a fallout with the coach at the time, which was Stuart Barsha. We had a fallout, which he told me that he doesn't want me for the next season, and I wasn't in his plans, you see.
yes.
So, because in my mind, I knew already I was leaving. I was just waiting for my papers, but my agent suggested that I go and loan to. First, it was tax.
Yes.
They were in Vela. I said no, I don't want to go to Vela. And he said, Ish, you don't have any options. If you don't go to tax, you're gonna stay there. You're not gonna play. And I told him no, I'd rather stay here than going to Vela. So, and then it was, I think, the last day, Cape Town City made a deal because the SuperSport wanted Aubrey Mujiba at the time. So Cape Town City made a deal that okay, they'll loan me to Cape Town City, and then they'll buy Aubrey Mujiba from Cape Town City. So that's how the deal actually happened.
Oh, so when you moved, it was sort of like some kind of a swap deal with Aubrey for you to go.
Yeah, it was a swap deal because if Aubrey never went the other side, I was gonna be sitting the whole season doing nothing there. So I went to Cape Town City for a loan, which I was from a bad injury also. Yeah, so I went there. Luckily, I got a coach who believed in me, which was that time was Eric Tinkler. So yeah, I think that season I did well. I think we won a cup, and then I think we finished third. Or yeah, so things went well. And suddenly, SuperSport said I need to come back. Which in myself, I didn't want to come back because I felt like, you know what, I'm playing well here and I'm used to the system and stuff. You see, so I had to go back because I was still under contract. And luckily, also they signed the coach which I was working with, which was Eric.
Eric, yeah.
So for me, it was something that I said, you know what, this coach believes in me, and I'm sure I'm gonna get a chance to play. You see, at SuperSport.
Yeah.
I went back. Pre-season, I got injured, which I think that was a turning point. Because if I never got injured, I think I was gonna play most of the games. Because the coach, I used to talk with him because I'm from Cape Town City with him. So I told him before I went back, I said, Coach Ish, I want to stay here because I'm happy at Cape Town City. He said, no, Ish, do what makes you happy, but also me, I think you're doing well here. So, but still you are under contract. And I said, okay. So when you went back, you spoke also, and he said, no, you know what? I know when you left SuperSport, you left on bad terms with the previous coach. But with me, I know you because we work together. So when you're here, I'm gonna give you a clean slate because I know you and what kind of player you are, you see. So pre-season I got injured. And now I was playing again the catch-up game, which the time the guys were flying.
Yeah.
Because I was competing with Dean and the youngster Tebogo Mokoena, which he was doing well at the time. And Yeye was doing well that time also. So it was difficult for me to break in. So I needed to wait, which didn't work against me because also my contract was coming to an end. You see, so my contract came to an end, and I don't know what happened after that. That one I really don't know. That's something that I'll need to ask one day someone who was involved in the dealings of my contract.
Yes.
Because I just all of a sudden there's no contract and I had to stay like home for 2 months.
Yes.
That's how I left Supersport. They never told me anything. They never said, hey, we don't want you, or we will do. Just everybody kept quiet from each side. So I don't know what happened till today.
So yeah, I remember that period because you were actually without a team for like 2 months or so, né? After you
Yes.
left Supersport. So how do you then end up at Chipa?
Cheaper, Eric went to Cheaper again because I have a good relationship with Eric.
Yeah.
So I called him and said, Coach, you know what, Coach, can I just come there to try myself there? He said, no, you know what, you have a problem. So I went there. I trained like for, I think it was 2 weeks, and then Cheaper decided to sign me. That's how I went to Cheaper.
And now you then find yourself at Cape Town City again.
8 months.
Yeah, you were there for a few months.
I did 6 months or 8 months at Cheaper. Sharp, and then we closed. It was first half of the season. And I went home for the December break. And suddenly I just got a call. Kuma, I'm on the phone. No. And suddenly they called me. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay. I got a call. They told me no, I shouldn't come back for January. And I was surprised because I think I played most of the games. I played most of the games leading to the break. Sure, yeah. And then they called me, like I told you, they called me, they said I mustn't come back for the preseason, January. So I was like, okay. And I had, I think, 2 months left or 3 months left on the contract. So I was like, okay. But I played most of the games. I couldn't understand because the coach was happy with my performance. But now the coach the coach that brought me there. So yeah. Yeah, no.
So then you told not to come back. I mean, that's strange because now I remember Cheaper. I mean, no regular. So it was quite surprising.
It was politics, football politics also.
Mm-hmm.
But they said no, they're gonna, because I had 3 months left, they said no, they'll pay me out. You see. I said no, I don't have a problem. So I spoke that time with my agent, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no, you know what? Because Cape Town City, they said no, I can come over. I went to Cape Town City. It was before, I think it was January. Yeah, it was December before the second round. So I went and trained with them, and then they said, you know what, we're gonna sign you for the remainder of the season, and you'll see how it goes. So I went to Cape Town City. Luckily, I did well, and then they offered me a 3-year contract. Yeah.
I mean, now at Cape Town City, you've been doing well. You even back in the national team, which I think shows how well you've been playing. And what is it about this current setup that got the best out of you? Like, you seemed to really enjoy playing under Coach Benny. Was it just a coincidence, or was there a specific reason why you just, seem to find your best form playing for him?
Yeah. I think the players first, and I think the coach played a big role in the team doing well also, because he doesn't take anything but the best, and he demands it every day at training. So my mentality as a player changed. Like I learned a lot from Coach Benny as a coach, because he would tell you, even if you are the best player in our team, he'll tell you if you're not doing well, and if you're doing well, he will tell you also. And we respected him a lot, because he's somebody who has achieved already a lot in football. So as players, we had that thing of, if he says something, he knows what he's talking about, you see. So we had so much respect for him that we would do anything for him on the field, to die for him, even for him on the bench there. He would fight for us. Like we could see that this guy is fighting for us. So we didn't want to let him down, you see. Unfortunately, the following season, we didn't start well. The results were not coming, which I felt for me it was still early for like our team to take that decision. You see, to like
Part ways with him, yeah.
to say, yeah, you see, because I felt like it was just a matter of time whereby we could have turned the corner, but it's business. Coaches come and go, and I think it affected, actually, for me, I think it affected me a lot, because, today you have this person whereby, you fight for him, you do anything for him, and the next thing, the person is gone, you see. So for the players, not only me, a lot of players, I think it took a lot, because we were just going through the emotions. Even when the new coach came, it was like, okay, because you don't know the coach, and the coach doesn't know the players, you see. So we're still finding each other. So I felt like this season, it wasn't like the best season for Cape Town City, whereby we know Cape Town City always, it's in the top 5, challenging for something, for cups, for the league. But this season, we there at the bottom, fighting relegation. So something new, but it's testing characters, you see, in the team, you see. Yeah, which is good. Sometimes you need that to see which guys can handle the good and the bad, you see. Yeah.
Were you surprised to find yourself in the national team? Because I think you played for, I think you got a call up like years ago, but you have not been called up for a very long time.
Yeah, it was like I got my first call up was, I think it was 2014, somewhere 13.
Yes.
And then after that, I never got a call up until recently, 2019. For me, going to national team, it was all up to the coach, because we used to speak, like he used to ask me, do you want to go to the national team? I said, coach, because me, I wasn't playing at Chiba. I come from Chiba, trying to fix my career again. Injuries, I was just solely focused on playing football and doing well so by the coach, every time he used to like encourage me, what, don't worry, don't give up. And I told him, coach, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, I'm still happy. Yeah, he said, but you're doing well, keep on doing well. And he used to tell me, like, the coaches from the national team, they used to ask about me, how am I doing, how is this player's personality, because when you go to the national team, it's not only about your football, because they need to check, can you gel with the guys who have been there for a longer time, because they don't want to disturb what they've created there by the national team. So they look at those stuff. So yeah, I think for me, going to the national team, it was the coach pushing me, Coach Benny pushing me, and also obviously I need to give credit to the guys, because if it wasn't for them, obviously I wasn't gonna be called up. Also, I think our team was balanced. We had each position, we had, like for like, if this one is not playing, we have this one, and from this one you're gonna get this, from this one you're gonna get this. So we knew each other in that sense that, you know what, if this one is injured, okay, it's a blow, but it's not like you can't go on, you see.
Yes.
So we had a bit of depth in our team, which I felt like, because when I got here, Thabo was here. Thabo got injured. Roland got injured, which are the best midfielders in our team. So I come in and I had to like do well also because I'm from Chiba and these guys have been carrying the team because they've been here at Cape Town City for long, you see. So I needed to step up, but also there was no like pressure to say, you know what, you need to step up. Because the coach used to tell me, you know what, I know what you can offer and what you can do and what you cannot do, you see. Because Thabo can do this, Roland can do this, but you can do this also, you see. We're different in our own way. So that gave me every day the push to go to training and fight for him. Yeah, that's how I got to the national team.
Now, I mean, how's the vibe currently? How's the spirit and everything in the national team? And how well do you think you guys can do as a group? Think you've got what it takes to take us to the World Cup? Do you have the quality?
I think for me, I think there's quality in South Africa, not only in the national team, but generally in South Africa. But I think they need to introduce players whereby, you know, in a long run, they're gonna be the guys who gonna carry the national team. You see, you can't wanna start somebody when he's 27. You need to start him when he's, I think, 20, 21. Just not even start the game, but to get that feeling to be in a national team. You see, so that when you are 27, like we have at least 5 or 6 players already playing overseas at the higher league. Some are playing the PSL regularly. And that time they are all maybe 27, 26. You see, not wait for them for that season. Maybe that season they have a good season, and then you want to put them. It goes back to the development again. You see,
Yes.
like players from under 20 national team to under 23, we need to keep those players together so that we have a continuation, so that we can win something. Because if you bring every time new players, it's difficult also. You see.
Because I mean, you make a good point, because I can see the current team, there's a lot of players in that sort of like age group that we discussed earlier, like what Tyson, Kamo, Kemit, yourself. So you can imagine if those guys, because those guys have been around for a very long time since the development days. So if that group had been kept together, now you guys would be a more complete team. Like you would have been playing together in the national team for a long time. And I think that would have made a difference, obviously.
Yeah, even if they say you don't win anything, but we would be like strong. So yeah, I'm saying we could have been at least strong contenders of maybe African Nations Cup.
Yeah.
You know, fighting to go to the World Cup and testing ourselves there. But now it's chop and change, which for other players, obviously, they say in the national team you have to play on merit, which is it's good, but we need to also look for players who's been in the system. We're not saying players who haven't been in the system, they can't play in the national team, but at least the core of the national team must come from, you know, under 20, under 23 coming up with the team, you see. And then you can add if somebody's doing well at this team, you add into the national team, you see. Not like half of the team is new, which it's difficult, you see.
Okay, so Thato, we're almost closing off now. I mean, you've turned 30. Are you turning 30 later this year, or have you already turned 30?
No, later this year. Actually, in 2 months.
So what are your plans for, I mean, what do you aim to achieve for the rest of your career? You know how it is, especially in South Africa. When someone turns 30, This.
We are old.
Yeah. So what are you still aiming to achieve the remaining years of your career, however long that may be?
For me, first is just to, now I need to look after my body. The first thing, like I don't want to get injured or anything, major injuries. That's the first thing. And to win at least the league before I retire. That's something I want to win. And while I'm still playing, I would like to put a place, like in a plan in place for when I retire, like now we are in lockdown. You see, to look at courses whereby this is my passion, which I want to study because I like properties, which is something that I feel like I can go into. So I want to study that, so that I know that after football I can still maintain my life, my family's life, and not take jobs out of desperation. Sometimes when you, as footballers, when you retire, any job they offer you take because you don't have an income and you're desperate for money. Yeah. And also my long term is to an academy that would be like, especially in Kimberley where I come from. That's like my big dream, like to have an academy which by I can, those players, some of them they talented because I know few of them that I played with them before, but they never reached to a level where I think they could have because of the exposure. I was the lucky one because I got an exposure to go to Super Sport when I was young. But now I want to make that exposure like if you stay in Joburg, like there's many clubs where you can go trial, Reds, Chiefs, Highlands, Pirates, you see development teams whereby you can go. So I want to create such a partnership where, because I've played football before, and obviously I have connections with players and coaches. So if I have that, I can always send players to go try in those academies and further there, even if they don't be successful in football, but in education or in life general, you see. Because sometimes we're all not gonna make it in football, but you can make something out of your life, you see. Not just stay at home, drink and stuff.
And just in terms of your position, would you like to see yourself becoming more established and just playing where you're playing now? Because you're currently playing in the midfield, which I mean I've always thought is your real position, is your best position. Or does it not matter? Because I mean you seem to be quite versatile. But because my opinion is playing so many positions has also like held you back in a way, because you've never really been seen as like a specialist in one position for a long time. It's always Thato can play as a left back, Thato can play as a center back, Thato can play. So would you prefer to just be able to settle down now and play your position?
Yeah, now I think before I retire, I need to, if I want people to remember, let's say when you retire, they must remember me as a versatile player, but now ending of my career, they must say, okay, this guy used to like be the best midfielder. That's what I wanna focus on. Yeah.
All right. Just to close off, and just a few quick things. Who do you consider to be the best player in the PSL at the moment?
Sure. There's a lot, There's a lot, but for me, like the best as in scoring or everything all around that.
Okay, let's make it your position. In your position, which player do you admire the most in the PSL and why?
I think I'll go for Andile Jali from Sundowns. I think for me, I think in our countries at the moment, for me, the best defensive midfielder, because he does a lot for the team. Doesn't score so much. It doesn't create so much, but you can see if he's in shape, great shape, and you can see Sundowns, they're really benefiting from him being on the field. Yeah, that's for me. I think that's the best. But the best player in the league, we have to admit, he has to be. For me, I think Sembazwane at the moment. Between Tembazwane and Sereni, for me. Yeah. So I got fight too, man. Yeah, man, Joe, I won't forget. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah,
Why you press? Why you press that man?
When you're in the game so fast, you just want to win the ball.
Yeah.
And I wasn't aware that I don't have to, you don't have to press that guy. Him and Sevino, I think they're very clever. They're clever. They know when to pass the ball.
Yeah. And internationally, who's your favorite player at the moment, or favorite midfielder?
Yeah, it's two. I think it's Busquets and I'm a coach, obviously, because I played with him.
I'm a coach.
Yeah.
Is he the best player you've played with?
One of the best. I think the best I've played with, the best to be Zongo.
Really? So what is it? Because he's more skillful, or what makes you say he's so special?
For me, I think there's players who are good like Messi. They win you a game. Yeah, Zongo was such a person. Like we would be, we play well, everything, but you could turn a game out of nothing. You see, that's why for me, I think he was like the best player I've played with.
Right, and I mean, just before we close off, because you raised something very interesting when you mentioned Zongo. What's your opinion on this whole thing called showboating? Because I mean, he seems to be someone who enjoys doing it a lot. I mean, what's your view? Do you think there's any room for that in our football, or do you agree with a lot of coaches who say, well, it's a waste of time and we don't need such in our football?
For me, I think because I know him, Zongo, I played with him from when we were young age. I think now he's not. He never used to play like this. He used to play to like effective. It was more like an effective dribble or effective with an end result. Yeah. But as time went on, I think he lost that. It was more about playing for the fans, you see, and not looking at the end result. It was like more of after the game, they're gonna talk about this. I wanna do this, you see. So for me, I think it changed in that way, whereby for me, when I played with him, I used to know that whenever we're in trouble, we give him the ball. He does something, he scores a goal. Or he does something, he gives Kermit the ball, Kermit scores. You see, he creates something. But as time went on, I think mentally, I think maybe he changed his game a bit. It wasn't more about being effective, because if it was still about being effective, I think he could have played overseas easily.
Yeah. All right, interesting. Tatos, thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure speaking to you. We talk about let's go like corona with it.
My friend,
Sharp. It was a pleasure. Sharp.